Welcome to the Rescue Authentic Networking Videocast. I am Nicole Williams, along with my co-hosts Jennifer Johnson and Don Evans Casey. And Jennifer, how are you today?
I am doing so well. We are so excited today. We're going to get right into our guest. We're going to find out about our guest, who happens to be Ryan Groves. He is a partner at McKinney and Malappet Law, which is a multi-service law firm with offices in Indianapolis and Muncie, where we're here in Indianapolis. Ryan is a civil law attorney and practices primarily in estate, trust, and bankruptcy law. Isn't that exciting? I don't mean to sound like that's like, oh my gosh, I guess that's a necessity these days. He lectures at Ball State University and is actively involved in his community. And you have a couple children too, don't you?
I do.
You're busy. Two. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here, Ryan. We're ready to get right into this. I guess my question to really start out with, and if our viewers can't tell, I'm using my phone. For some reason my computer decided to go wacko today, so if I'm shaking around, I didn't mean to do that, ladies. I'm sorry, Justin. I kind of did that. But we really want the focus to be on Ryan today. So, Ryan, please tell us a little bit about who you are. We already said who you are a little bit, and how is the unfortunate elephant in the room is, how is this pandemic thing affecting your business? And we'll go from there. Okay.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Sure.
So as you said, I'm an attorney. I'm in my 9th or 10th year of practice now. I practice solely in civil law, which means I don't do any criminal law at all. Never wanted to, haven't ever had to, kind of happy not to do it. So I work at McKinney and Malappet Law, and we have offices both in Muncie and Indianapolis. I primarily, or at least I enjoy helping people with their estate planning and trust issues. I get into litigation when I have to, but estate planning, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later this afternoon, is a really, really important and often neglected part of adults' plans and lives as they kind of move forward and have families. Your estate plan changes from time to time, or at least it should be changing. And as I've experienced firsthand, as I've kind of grown and matured and gone through my legal practice, a lot of people don't have an estate plan at all. They don't have a will. They don't have any plans for what happens in the unfortunate event that they pass away in an untimely event, and it really leaves the people you leave behind in tatters. I mean, it's a difficult situation they're dealing with anyways, but now they've got a legal mess that they've got to mess with too, that you could have prevented before you passed. But to answer how the pandemic's treating us, as far as business goes, I mean, certainly it slowed down a lot. At least new business slowed down in March when it first really hit. But we had a lot of, all of the attorneys here had a lot of work kind of already in the pipeline that we were able to keep moving through. And once, late April, May kind of hit, people started coming back in the doors, and business seems to be okay right now. So
good.
The biggest difference we've seen is having to really embrace technology. I mean, Zoom conference, I didn't know what that was in January. Our clients, none of our, we never did video conferencing with anybody, but now we've had to, and I actually really enjoy it. I think it's a better use, a more efficient use of my client's time, of my time. There's less traveling back and forth. It's more personal than just picking up the phone and having a phone conversation that way. So I've really enjoyed that part of the video conferencing. The courts have had to embrace video conferencing as well, and we're having a lot of our hearings in the exact same manner that we're meeting right now. Wow. That I haven't enjoyed so much. I think you really lose something by not being in the same room, or at least the judges lose something by not being in the same room with the litigants. But it's the world we live in today. Everybody's dealing with it, and at some point we'll be back in the courtrooms. Although I do think it's going to be not until sometime in 2021 before that happens.
Yeah. Gosh. Wow. Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. I never thought about that the courts, they have to, that they were virtual as well. Wow.
There are some criminal hearings that they're doing in person. I believe just because there's some constitutional issues with doing them over the video conferencing, but most courts, not all of them, most courts are doing all their civil stuff online though. I have been in a couple couple counties, couple smaller counties.
Mm-hmm.
Their courtrooms are still open for civil engagements, but most of them are not.
Wow.
Wow. Well, thank you. That's wow. Well, our show is all about being authentic and genuine, and we were wondering what authentic means to you and your business.
In my business, being authentic or authenticity really means honesty, or at least it does for me. Some clients are looking for a yes man in their attorney. I want to do A, B, and C, and they want their attorney to say, yep, we can do that, no problem. That's not always the case. In fact, it's rarely the case. But some attorneys will say, yeah, we'll get it done. Other attorneys will say, yeah, that's never going to happen. I feel like I am authentic. I feel like I'm honest with my clients. If they're being unreasonable in their demands or their requests or their desires, whatever it is, I'll let them know. We can't go down that road. That's not going to work. Or it's not the right way to go for whatever the reason is. So that's what authenticity means to me in the practice of law.
That is awesome, because you're not, because in the end, they're not going to be let down because you made promises, right?
Sure.
That's awesome.
Sure. I wouldn't be
out there who don't do that.
I wouldn't be a good attorney because I promise too much. I promise too much. I would want to. I would be really hard to not. Yeah, go ahead, Dawn. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. People didn't already figure that out.
No problem. So, Ryan, you shared with us your focus on civil law and how most people are, that's not front of mind to how they might need your assistance in civil matters. Can you tell us how you usually come to meet your clientele or your prospective clients?
Sure. So especially in the estate planning world, most of my clients come to me by word of mouth through personal referrals from somebody else, whether it's their accountant, their CPA, their real estate agent, their friend, their hairdresser. It could be anybody. Normally that's how it comes around. Although honestly, it's usually more in the business world. Because let's be honest, when we're talking about estate planning, we're talking about you dying, not even somebody dying. We're talking about you.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about that. And that's just not a conversation you get into with your friends. just sitting around having dinner or whatever. But it is a conversation, or at least a mention that your CPA might have with you, or your business advisor, your financial planner, whoever it may be, in the business world. So it's an easier topic for them to broach. Usually it's as simple as, hey, you have a will, right? And most people will say, no, I don't have a will. Oh, well, you need to get a will. Here, go see Ryan. He'll help you out. So we recommend you review your wills about every 4 or 5 years. Certainly, if you have a major life change, you get married, you get divorced, you move in with a lifetime partner or something like that. But otherwise, about every 4 or 5 years is a good time to review your will. We do that. I do that for free. Even if will somebody else prepared, I'll sit down and look at it and say, yeah, everything is good. You don't need any changes right now, and you can go about your way. Or if there are some changes that need to be done, whatever the case may be, it's certainly something I can assist with.
Wonderful. Wow. That's great to know.
Yeah, that is good to know. And you know what? That isn't a conversation you want to have with but updating the will, we've had people in our network who've had issues where they'll talk about how somebody's name didn't get changed even though they got divorced 10 years ago, and then they inherit everything when the person dies or whatever, you know. So you probably had so many horror stories like that, right, Ryan, or things.
That's a lot of things. The issue I see time after time, what happens is two people get married, they have kids, they get divorced, one of them gets remarried, but they never get a will done. They think everything's going to go to their natural kids, you know, their biological kids, or they think everything's going to go to their wife or their husband, their new spouse. Whereas that's not actually the case. If you don't have a will written out to say where you want everything to go, the state gets to decide through our laws, you know, through our statutes, and it never works out the way you want it to. People
So
start
that's
over it. All of a sudden, there's no estate left to give to anybody.
oh
You
shoot.
know, for as little money as it costs and as little of amount of time as it takes to do it, it's definitely one of the things attorneys can do for their clients that is not painful, not uncomfortable. We're actually providing a service that's going to be useful. Now, it's going to be useful to the people you leave behind. It's not really going to help you out a lot, which is the tough
Well,
right?
I do think it's the peace of mind, though, to know it's just like having life insurance or those kind of things. Just,
Yeah.
you know, knowing that you've got that and you've made that. So 4 to 5 years, somebody needs to be reviewing. If they don't have a will, they need to have one, right? Obviously.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter whether you've got a big book of business, or I'm sorry, it doesn't matter whether you have a business or you have a bunch of, you need to have a will so that there's no question, right? Anybody needs to have a will. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I think the only people who have asked me for a will or that I've said you don't need one right now, or you don't necessarily have to have one, are college students who are not married, who don't have children,
Sure.
and who really don't have any assets at this point. You know,
Gotcha.
but once you get married, even if you're young and you don't have any money yet, go ahead and get that will in place, because then you don't have to worry about it really until you start having kids. And as you go forward and start amassing some wealth and some assets, you don't have to worry about what's going to happen to it because you've already got your plan in place.
Cool. Well, that's just always nice to hear those reassuring, because we actually have a will. We have some other things, and it just makes me feel better. You know what? And my questions really are around, we should have said it in the introduction. I should have said it in the introduction. You are a member of one of our TTR groups, which is now called Carmel Networking Partners, happens to be Nicole's group. And, you know, I told you before we recorded, I don't want you to make up any stories or anything, but you kind of found us because maybe you tell us, why did your boss tell you had to join? Is that what it was? I'm just being honest.
One of my law partners is a member of one of the other TTR groups, and that's how I came to find out about TTR. I visited a handful of groups before I settled on the Carmel Networking Partners. I thought that group was just more in line with what I was working toward, and the kind of served the same client base that I'm interested in getting in front of and expanding my working pool in that area.
Good. Well, and I don't, you know, I'm just going to say, basically the whole thing here is we try to say something about how'd you find TTR, you know, what's the story, what you've already kind of shared, why you ended up, you know, visited a couple groups. And I think the big thing for me anyway, to get across to our members is, people in the group might need you. And definitely people need attorney services, estate planning, all of it. But you're also in there with financial advisors. Who else did you say are good? CPAs, you know, these people all know those kind of people. So you want to be that person that comes top of mind when that financial advice. So that's great to understand. I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves with, not pet peeves, but I do get frustrated with our members that don't understand. Actually, very few of them become members. Most of the time people just come and they join, or they visit and they think they're going to get all kinds of business. Ryan, you've been in our groups, what, maybe 2 years, maybe?
Yeah.
So now I would assume that you've gotten some leads, maybe not everything is turned into business, but you know, do you have, I mean, have you, I mean, you've got a new group, not a new group, you've known them two years, but that association with that group, has it given you some leads, I hope?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So if it hadn't, I wouldn't still be around.
Okay. Well, and nobody, you know,
Wow.
I guess I would, you know, I don't know if that comes up, but I mean, you're not stuck. You can choose month to month, but had you not given it, did it take you a little bit of time to do that though? I mean, it's not overnight, right?
Nothing's overnight.
Okay,
Nothing's
good.
overnight in the business. I'm sure all of us on the call know that.
Right.
In the law world or the legal world, most, if any attorney is being honest with you, they will tell you a vast majority of their business comes from personal recommendations, personal referrals. You know, we do some advertising, we have some billboards, we do some social media stuff and blog posts and things like that, just to make sure our name's out there. Probably in about the same amount other firms our size do. You know, the giant firms spend lots and lots of money every year on advertising, but even them, they will tell you most of their referrals are going to come from word of mouth. And that's why groups like TTR are so important. You know, it gets you in front of industry leaders in industries that are going to be complementary to your own. It allows me to refer my clients out to other people that, you know, other areas that they may need help with. When I have a client wanting to start a new business, I mean, they're going to have to insure that, and I send them over to Tony. You know,
Cool.
I mean, I have somebody I can trust that's going to treat my client the way that I want it, you know, that I will treat my client.
Right.
And that's what's a little bit different about TTR than some of the other groups I've been a part of, where we've actually been able to, or at least our group's been able to form genuine or authentic friendships with each other. And I think we really do feel comfortable referring out our clients to other people or to them. Because
Yeah.
if we don't, if we're a little worried about it, I mean, our client's going to come back and blame us if we go out and get bad service somewhere else. So, you know, we're not going to do that. And of course, we're going to treat other people's clients, you know, just like they were, well, you know, hopefully they become our own, but we're going to treat them just as well as they want to be treated.
Well, he answered my questions, Don. That's all I needed to hear. That was exactly what he did a good job. So take it, Don, you got it.
So one of the tenets of TTR networking, and you've been around long enough, Ryan, is about supporting nonprofits and giving back to the community that we're a part of. Can you share with us what nonprofits you're interested in and perhaps what groups your TTR networking group has supported?
Sure. I'll tell you about one, which is Hillcroft Industries. It's one of the largest employers in Delaware County, and I've been on their board of directors for 5 or 6 years now. I'm their vice chair at the moment. We are an employer who services the adult, well, and child, but the individuals who are mentally and physically disabled who need some help. And our programs are as varied as having an ABA clinic to having a work facility where our clients can come in and make a wage, you know, instead of just sitting at home. I mean, some of our clients are need care almost around the clock, but they can come in, they can socialize with their peers. We have several different type of programs. Our music therapy program is getting bigger every year. So that is an industry or a nonprofit that I'm heavily involved.
And Ryan, one more time, what is the name of it? I'm sorry.
Oh, Hillcroft Industries.
Hillcroft. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got it.
That's awesome. That's
That
awesome.
is awesome. Yay.
Yeah. And and I know Nicole didn't take that over too long ago, but I know you guys, the Carmel Networking Partners, have done a couple different things. Remind me, because I'm not even sure what the nonprofits that group has supported. Do you guys know?
Yeah, it was one of the inner city churches in
Okay.
Indianapolis that we did some service for them.
But just think how cool that is, ladies. I don't know, Nicole, if you even realize that he was on the board of Hillcroft. That's
I
pretty
did
cool.
not know that. That
I
is,
mean,
yeah. And our groups, we like to sponsor and do something special each year. So we'll have to learn more about that, Ryan, and see maybe if we can do that soon. Do something
and
for them.
yeah,
I agree.
definitely this year. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like that Hillcroft is doing pretty well. You said, how long have they been in existence? I'm just kind of wondering.
I think we're closing in on 80 or 90 years.
Oh, well then obviously.
Wow.
But you know, the
Been around
the
a long.
nonprofit
That's awesome.
world, yeah, the nonprofit world is struggling, you know, some
Mhm.
of the ones that are, you know, but I think that would be really interesting to learn more about Hillcroft and how, you know,
Mhm.
could help them. So cool. All right, I just have to keep throwing my thoughts out there.
No,
Okay,
that's
Nicole.
awesome.
Yeah.
How can our audience find you if they we want to contact you and got some questions for you? What's a good way or a couple of good ways to find you?
I think the easiest way would be to go to the TTR networking website and go to my page.
Woohoo!
And then I believe my email address and our firm website is
Mm-hmm.
up there.
Awesome.
If
Yeah.
you Google Ryan Groves attorney, I believe I pop up. And actually, somebody told me most recently it was the TTR page that popped up when I
Hey.
Googled that. So
Wow.
I
Awesome.
can't
either
do
that
both
or
hands because my hand's holding the phone, but that's awesome. I'm just kidding you. But
either that
that's
or go to
exciting.
McKinney Malappet Law, search that, and you can find me that way as well.
And
Awesome.
you know, we have, and just before we ask Ryan for his last question there, but we've had another attorney in our network, and McKinney and Malappet has done a, you know, they've been very involved in our network, and I just appreciate that Ryan is saying nice things about us too, because that's pretty cool. We could say a lot of nice things about them, but it is ttrnetworking.com. And if you go there, then you would go to the Carmel Networking Partners, which happens to be Nicole's, and then you'd find Ryan on there with his information, and that's pretty exciting. So Ryan, we do just kind of, you know, you've talked about estate planning and some of the things, and is there any final thoughts for our interview today that you'd like to make sure people know about you, or, you know, what would be your final thought, parting thought?
I just want to say nobody likes to talk about or think about themselves dying or their spouse or their significant other dying. It's not a fun conversation to have, but it's one you need to have with an attorney. I'm getting to the age now where I've had several of the people I looked up to in my life are starting to pass away. I've had several friends who have had parents pass away. I've even had a few colleagues pass away.
Yeah.
They don't always have wills, and it's hard enough emotionally to deal with what's going on when somebody close to you dies. But when you leave a legal mess or the possibility for a legal mess, it makes it 10 times worse.
Mhm.
It makes that emotional part of it, that emotional phase, drags on and on and on because you're never really able to move on until that legal mess is done. You know, and what's the legal mess look like, or how long does it take anyways? I mean, it could just be a couple extra months. I've had ones that have drug on for 4 years. And I mean,
Wow.
it
Yeah.
really, and I tell all my clients that come in, we're not writing the will for you. We're doing it for who you leave
Your
behind.
family.
And, you know, that seems to resonate with most people.
Mhm.
So again, it's not something anybody likes to do or likes to think about anyways. Like you said, we sell peace of mind when we do that. And it's about as much fun to talk to attorneys about that as it is insurance brokers about insurance. Because nobody likes to talk about insurance either. So the next time you do talk to your insurance broker, just go right to your attorney, get it all over with in the same day. You
That's
don't
a
have
good
to deal with
idea.
it for 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
That's a
Thank
All
good,
you.
right.
yeah, good. Thank you.
Wow. Lots lots of important stuff. So Jennifer, as we wrap this one up, do you have anything you would like to close with? Do you have a quote for us, or?
Well, let's think. Before we do that, let's have a quote, but you know what? We want to make sure, just thank you, Ryan, so much for
Thank
being
you,
our
Ryan.
guest.
I was happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we just, I was thinking about that authenticity. If you don't have somebody who's honest with you, that's helping you with that kind of stuff, your attorney, your insurance person, your CPA, you're in big trouble. I mean, if you can't trust them. So I think that's a great, knowing that he said authenticity means being honest. I think that's a really good thing, that I'm so glad he said that. And hopefully that is, people remember that they can, if they're looking for an attorney in Indiana. Are you practicing in any other states, or just here right now?
Just Indiana.
Okay, so that's good. But the honesty thing is a big deal. And we just want to really quickly, Dawn is just been sitting there smiling. Dawn, you're going to do a show sometime soon. I know the travel business has been kind of rough, probably the last few months. We do want to do an update on your travel stuff. So can you give us just a little tidbit? How are things going in the travel? Anything good? New?
Good. It's still a challenge, honestly, with a possible second wave of COVID coming around. I just found out this week that there are some Caribbean locales, such as the Bahamas, that have decided to close their borders to the United States citizens because our testing numbers for COVID are going up. They're open to Canada and Europe, but closing the borders to the U.S. So along those lines, I'm just hoping that folks focus on their safety and health and do what's best for themselves, their families, and the people around them, and that we can continue to work towards finding a solution and reversing those numbers. So
yeah. Well, we will have a future show where you're going to update us on the travel as an industry in general, and we're still going to get that. But you know what? This would be a good time to say, if you can't travel, why don't you get on a Zoom call with Ryan and get your, all your stuff in order, so that when the next time you can travel, you don't have to worry about whether that stuff is in place. It's in place. It's there.
I agree. I'm going to be seeing my mom this weekend, and she and I are going to have this conversation. I know she has a will, but I don't know when the last time is that she reviewed it. So I'm definitely going to be striking up this conversation with my loved ones.
Like Ryan said, it's not a fun conversation to have, but it is what we are dealing with. I think and the fact that we're in a situation where there's a lot of people that are not able to go do anything. Why don't you take those tough things that you didn't want to do? Yeah. You always said you didn't have enough time to put a will together. You didn't have enough time. We all have time, and I'm sorry, we have time. You have time. Anyway, let me leave with this quote. Nicole, you did ask me a long time ago, what's the quote? And I'm just going to say my favorite thing, and I just grabbed it off my thing because I'll say it the wrong way, but it's the Serenity Prayer. It's not an authenticity quote, but the God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And right now, none of us like what's going on necessarily, but we can make lemonade out of lemons, and get that will done. Get that estate plan done, whatever you need to do that will then give you that peace of mind that when things do open up again, which they will, right, Dawn?
Yes, they certainly will. We are very optimistic.
We are, yes. And we're all going to get through this together, and with good people like Ryan helping us do this, we'll all come out on top. But we just gotta do the best we can, and the wisdom to say, you know what, I can make a difference. I can do this. I can do this now. And we're going forward. And you know what, Nicole, take us home with that little comment.
Well, I want to say that's an awesome quote, one of my favorites.
Yes.
What our whole show is about, what TTR networking is about. Thank you, Ryan. We so appreciate you being here today and all your words of wisdom and all that you do for everybody. Thank you, because that's so
Happy to
needed.
be here.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
We also want to thank our guests for joining us. Please visit ttrnetworking.com for all our notes from our show today. Actually, they're going to be below our video on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Jennifer
Yes.
puts all our notes in. You'll have all our contact info, maybe some upcoming events, and also how you can become a member of one of our TTR meetings. Maybe visit us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So we've got all that. We look forward to many more conversations to come. Until next time, may all your days be filled with authenticity.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.